There's over 1,000 weapons in Destiny 2 right now, and we're going to go over what the top 13 are for you to use in the Crucible. I teamed up with my buddy Hinra to explain why these are the best in the game, along with some potential backups in case you don't have them. At the end, we're going to talk about some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut, but let's start off with the Vex Mythoclast ranking in at number 13. Even though it may not live up to its D1 predecessor, I'm still surprised by how little I see this thing in PvP. It's technically a fusion rifle on paper, but it's truly an auto rifle and has the damage of a 360 RPM archetype that gets to shoot at 390 RPM. That alone gives it quite the edge, but some things that are really nice is the fact that the zoom isn't overkill, meaning you can aim down sights pretty close up and still feel really comfortable, and then thanks to the catalyst, it gets bonus damage, accuracy, and stability after an initial kill, meaning it'll feel a lot more sticky further out. Once you get rolling on this thing, you can end up with an overcharge that can actually convert it to a linear fusion, and we all know how annoying those things can be when they seem to inevitably combat flinch. Vex Mythoclast is still extremely strong in PvP, the overcharge mechanic makes it super fun, and with the new Solar 3.0 especially, I definitely recommend you pull this thing out of your vault and dust it off. Coming in at number 12, we actually have two. The Dead Messenger and Fighting Lion. They're different with the fact that one uses special ammo and the other one uses primary, but they serve the same purpose. Incredible precursor or cleanup damage. The triple wave from Dead Messenger is absurdly wide, and although it's supposed to only hit once, I've had a number of one-hit kills with this thing, almost like a double damage glitch or a double wave hit. The idea is to shoot the ground in front of your opponent, then immediately swap to your other weapon, firing right away. I can't count how many times I've killed the person in the same time that it took for the wave to do the damage because of how fast you can swap with certain weapons. I really recommend pushing for a high handling kinetic, whether that's an SMG on a Peacekeeper Titan, or heck, even a sidearm. Whatever you can swap to quickly, you're going to find success. Now with Fighting Lion, when you shoot that, you're holding the trigger, right? And then you self-detonate it when you let go. It takes a little bit more concentration, but A, it has infinite ammo, which is insane, and B, after you kill someone who's been hit by your Fighting Lion, the damn thing will automatically reload. And if that wasn't enough, your reload time also goes down the more you use this thing in the Crucible. And remember, just a couple of weeks ago, Bungie reverted that blast radius back to its original and then added 5% damage. But I swear it's glitched. It's dealing like 20% more right now, so it's absolutely crazy being able to do 201 damage in one shot. All you need is one boost to be active, so while I show you an example of it one hitting when you're Radiant, I wanted to mention a company called Bespoke Post. I tested out some of their product recently and I was pretty impressed. Now I'm going to explain how that company works, but also break down the Fighting Lion damage numbers while I'm at it. Bespoke supports small businesses by going out and finding under the radar brands and then bringing everyone's products to one convenient location for you as a consumer. The general value of each package is around $70 US, but the price for you is only $49. For example, I bought my wife the coffee grinder and French press combo because she's always wanted to give that a shot. And before I get into what my favorite part about Bespoke is, take a look at this shot from the Fighting Lion. See, it used to deal 150 total. They wanted it to deal 158 after that 5% boost, but now it's dealing 182 by accident, and that is why you can one hit with just one damage boost being active. For Bespoke, what I love is the fact that you can just take a quiz and tell them what you're interested in and then sign up for a monthly reminder. Basically, they'll ping you and show you a potential box that you might like each month. If you want it, fire away for that price of $49, but if you don't, then just defer it to the next month without a charge. The second one I ended up getting was the Bare Bones Nada hatchet, and that was because I wanted something for better kindling around the fire pit. But of course, number 3 was off my wife's wish list, which was an iced coffee maker from the concentrate box, and she's been really loving it. There's a sign up page if you want the monthly setup, and to get 20% off your first box, click the link in the description and enter Castle20 at checkout, or you can go directly to www.bespokepost.com/Castle20. Getting back to the list now, we have Le Monarque at number 11. The latest damage nerf did make one particular quick swap stop working. See, a lot of people would use an explosive payload hand cannon and then they would just quick swap to that after hitting for 175. And all they had to do was just shoot anywhere in the vicinity of their opponent and it was like instant death. Even though that was eliminated though, the thing still deals just over 169 damage while maintaining an intrinsic lightweight bonus to your mobility stat and sprint speed. Bows get a lot of hate in Destiny, and I think it's because there's nothing more jarring than getting hit for that much damage in a split second that isn't tied to special ammo. Top tier bow players using Le Monarque are so tough because the moment you get hit, you're out of the battle for 5 to 6 seconds thanks to that lingering burn. That's typically all they need for their team to make a move in a game type like Trials, and ultimately the free damage output on this thing combined with the good handling allows for excellent quick swaps and is still very strong even post nerf. Back to another weapon severely slept on, ranking in at number 10, we have the Forerunner. This was the emulation of Halo's pistol, and I have two major things to say. Easiest headshots in the game and 0.6 TTK. I mean, hell, just listen to Mr. Astacross right here.
I gotta tell you right now, this sidearm absolutely wrecks. The most disgusting weapon inside of Destiny 2's Crucible at the moment.
You spawn in with 8 bullets, but your mag can hold up to 12, and then there's plenty more in reserves after a few kills. Zooming in nearly guarantees your shots to hit from as far away as you want to be. I don't know what it is about this thing, it just feels like you can't miss a headshot, and then if someone pushes you, it's still really easy to just hip fire depending on your sensitivity differences. The only drawback to this right now is that with the newly reduced special ammo economy, obviously all specials are less effective, but mostly I wanted to point out that you should not use the catalyst because that grenade thing consumes 6 damn ammo. Anyway, now more than ever, with how weak some special weapons are feeling in the game, this thing is incredible. Number 9 is a primary holding a spot for the rapid fire pulse Peace of Mind. There are so many things going for it that I made an entire 13-minute video all about. To try and make a long story short, it ultimately boils down to the combination of perpetual motion and elemental capacitor alongside 19 zoom, giving it ultimate versatility. You can finally duel up to 40 meters while dealing an ungodly amount of flinch to your opponent. You have an insane TTK if you happen to hit 8 crits in a row, and although it doesn't happen often, your 3 bursts can have 2 body shots and still drop them in 0.8 seconds. Being able to use arrowhead break for a super tight burst in game without losing range thanks to the high zoom, having amazing stability options or even top tier handling on an arc subclass is just so nice. Get your red borders for this thing if you haven't because it is craftable. You can literally make your god roll. Number 8, however, is quite the opposite when it comes to RNG because it is not craftable. The God Roll Found Verdict has eluded many players, and I'm incredibly fortunate to have landed this roll. It isn't even the best out there, but after Bungie's last hit to shotguns, man, they are struggling, you guys. With how inconsistent they are now, I feel like you have two options. You either go for a hard-hitting aggressive, dealing just over 22 damage per pellet so that you only need 9 out of the 12 to get your one-hit kill, or you just totally forego that and go max handling into a shotgun, expecting to swap or shoot twice. The time loss found verdict, however, is the closest possible thing in the game to hit both of those requirements. Remember that opening shot adds 20 to 25 range, right? So this thing can actually break 80 range, which is extremely useful and necessary now on an aggressive shotgun after all the nerfs. Before we move on to number 7 though, this will be the first ranking that we give you 2 solid backup options. Lord of Wolves, although it was also hit with the recent nerf to its range, still dominates in the Crucible. Just go watch DeFizzle on Twitch and you'll see what I mean. Whatever you do, just don't use Release the Wolves and you're going to do just fine with this thing. And then I'd say the other best alternative is Duality. The fact that it gives you a slug option while you're on the ground because, you know, airborne effectiveness, and then a hipfire spread that has the longest hipfire drop-off range intrinsically in the game, it really does still allow for more versatile gameplay. Number 7 brings us the Hawk Moon. It is way better than you think, and I know Ace and Thorn get all the glory, but seriously, this is an exotic with actual perk selection, and they're all amazing, whether it's Opening Shot, Eye of the Storm, Quick Draw, maybe Rangefinder to push out your effective range, you name it. All of these choices while having cracked out stats. If you don't know how this weapon works, every headshot that you land adds up a stack called Paracausal, which gives bonus damage to the final bullet depending on your stack. Think of D1's Luck in the Chamber, except you're in control now. What's really cool though is that the hit registration also gets stickier the more you shoot because of the catalyst giving it more range, it adds handling, makes your reload faster. Then on top of all of this, I do believe that there's a skill gap into getting the timing right with that last bullet. We do believe Thorn and Ace are very strong though, and they absolutely can serve as a backup to this ranking, but the final thing that I'll mention is that did you know holster mods can actually reload the Hawkmoon without ditching your stacks? That's right, Hinra reminded me that if you get your stacks up and you're a bit low on ammo, you can actually stow stow the damn thing, letting the hand cannon holster mod reload part of it while you're doing your thing. Then when you swap back, you'll have more shots to make that final paracausal stack. The guy's brilliant. He knows so many little intricacies about Destiny, and he dominates in PvP. For my regular viewers, you've probably come to learn how much I enjoy working with others on my video projects, so please give his channel a check. The amount of information that I've learned just because I was subbed to his YouTube is endless, and there's a lot of them that are super concise and right to the point. A perfect example is that one that he just posted about restoration. It was super informative, and I really don't think you're going to regret subbing to his channel. Okay, number 6. My god, another exotic. Dead Man's Tail. Don't even think for a second that this thing's in the gutter after the last nerf. It's still a supercharged 120. Being able to 2-crit one body at an extreme range is so beneficial, and then as you land your headshots, similar to Hawkmoon, you get a stack on the left-hand side. For DMT, it's a damage increase, eventually allowing you to 2-tap. I'll admit the hipfire headshot percentage has definitely gone down compared to before, but it was getting out of hand and it was a good nerf in my opinion. Even at 130 RPM instead of the 150 when you're shooting from the hip, it still competes. And it's funny, when I was writing the script, I didn't really know what else to say on why this thing was so good. It's just incredible to have in your arsenal. I also find it surprisingly hard to miss headshots when you're aiming down sights. Like, let me know what you think about that, because I find the peak shot capability #1 on this thing. Now, speaking of fusions, we've actually placed the Plug 1 at number 5. I know that may seem a little left field, and admittedly, I don't have enough time with the burden of guilt under my belt, but let me recap you on the 5 most recent fusion changes. High Impacts had their bolt damage go up from 62 to 66 and their charge time down to 960. They still, however, take longer to shoot than my grandma does swapping her dentures. Rapids, on the other hand, had their charge time upped from 460 to 500, plus their damage was reduced from 29 to 27. They're still the best for aggressive play, but those 2 changes hit them hard. The 5th change was the fact that Precision charge time went from 740 milliseconds to 780. With how easy it was to get your kill, Bungie had to do something. I think it was the right call, but I do think that it gave an edge to the Plug 1 with that cornered perk. Being able to cut your charge time by 100 milliseconds when you're around 2 enemies is huge, and if you have the Adept version, remember that that charge time doesn't actually cut your impact down. As it stands, I truly believe this to be the optimal fusion of choice, but I know it's specific, so we do have the backups as main ingredient and a God Roll Cartesian. The likely suspect just doesn't feel the same after that last nerf, but Cartesian still really hangs in my opinion. Number 4 brings us a submachine gun. Teraba, Shayura's Wrath, and Borrowed Time. The latest season actually bumped all SMG ranges up, so not only did they change some of the zooms, even Teraba, which had no zoom change at all, got more distance in-game, okay? The fact that it can deal max damage at 22 meters now is nuts, and for anyone unaware, Ravenous Beast is a stack build-up from taking or dealing damage that converts it to a 900 RPM, 33 damage per bullet, #1 killing machine in the game. Although Teraba technically holds the rank at number 4, we did still feel it was worth mentioning how strong Shayura's and Borrowed Time are. With the former reaching over 27 meters paired with Kill Clip, it generates a ridiculous amount of montage footage, plus it's got top tier airborne effectiveness. And with the latter, if you get a God Rolled Borrowed Time from Gambit, it's probably the most slept on SMG. Rangefinder on that thing is wild, okay? That perk is so good now, especially with how airborne effectiveness is working. I cannot recommend it enough. But leading into the top 3, we have myself, Castle, telling you to join my Discord right now, today. Use that link and ping me when you get in there. I don't care how many pings there are, I'm going to respond to every single one of them. I want you to hold me to it. Then on the flip side, I'm really trying to gain some traction on Twitter, so it'd be pretty sweet if you found me on there. Look up @CastleContent. But the real top 3 starts with the Eye of Soul and Beloved Sniper Rifles. You may have missed out on the snapshot opening shot combo for Eye of Soul, but dear lord does it feel different if you have it. With how much people can spec into de-flinching nowadays, I really think we're going to see some troublesome rise in sniper usage. These weapons were already dangerous when in the right hands, and now that people can essentially negate their flinch, it's really scary. Because when the other team has an amazing sniper, it's the one time that you feel completely helpless, like there's nothing you can do. The 2 of these snipers cover both your kinetic and energy slots, and if you're somehow lucky enough to get your red borders, which I feel like I'm never going to get, you can actually will your way to a God Roll Beloved. The 40 zoom with quick draw snapshot, or heck, moving target if you're going to use fluted barrel, it's beautiful. Coming in at number 2, we wanted to stir the pot a little here. Legendary 140 RPM hand cannons are a community favorite, and for good reason. I don't think I need to explain why. People would likely also agree that the big 4 are Fatebringer, Palindrome, Ice Luna, and Austringer. How would you actually rank them though? Should we just give them a straight 4-way tie? I don't really think so. That's kind of boring. First and foremost, we say that Fatebringer is number 1, and that's coming from someone who hates that stupid flashlight on the side. Straight up though, explosive payload on a 140 from someone who hits their shots just brings this thing to another level that the others don't reach. Second on the list would be Palindrome due to its insane base stats. It just can't be contested in that regard and comes with S tier perks along the way. Now I will say that the IS Luna was the first real legitimate eye-opener for me on how strong stability is. I don't mean because of flinch either though, I'm talking about the aim assist degradation. You see, as you spam your weapon, your aim assist cone will actually shrink, and then each time it tries to grow back to its original state before the next shot. Well, the rate, or how fast it grows back to its original state, is impacted by your stability stat. And it wasn't until I used an 84 stability IS Luna that, wow, is it ever noticeable. That thing never misses. I now really value stability, and Austringer, believe it or not, I'm putting it 4th, even though yes, it has Rangefinder, Eye of the Storm, that pinnacle combination, but the IS Luna's got way higher handling, higher aim assist, higher stability. It just all factors in, giving it a slight edge in my opinion. Let's move on though, because I think we can all agree these are all excellent options. The honorable mentions before we hop to number 1 starts with the last word. It could take number 1, I get it. This thing on controller is truly unfair. It is more viable on MNK with Bungie's most recent buff, but we felt it was best to just be mentioned here. The thing's a beast, we all know that. Let's move on to number 2 for honorable mention, which is the Enigma. I'm serious, these glaives are no joke, you guys. If you have that shield up, you pretty much win any duel thanks to the 75% damage resist. You can literally survive a rocket launcher, okay? And these are not meant to be used for their melee. It's all about that 130 damage projectile. Getting to learn one of these makes you so much better at positioning and critical thinking. And something that Hinra wanted to point out was that the range stat converts to velocity, which is super important, okay, when it comes to crafting these things. We recommend Impulse Amplifier for 35% more of that, and then Unstoppable Force giving you a 30% damage boost after being shot while your shield is up. Now, the last couple under honorable mentions are the fact that you can't forget about the linear fusions, Arbalest and Lorentz. I hate going against them. They're super strong. It feels like they still don't get any flinch. And I just wanted to mention the Igneous Hammer. If you struggle to hit 3 taps using a 140 hand cannon, don't forget about the 120. Igneous has unbelievable base stats, and the fact that it lets you 2 crit 1 body for just a hair slower TTK, that's totally fine. This thing is by no means bad. But swooping in at number 1 is none other than the No Time to Explain. I tried to tell you guys last October, I screamed at the top of my little YouTube mountain how this thing just serves you wee rans on a silver platter. I truly can't go into every single specific detail because I'd be sitting here for another 15 minutes like I did in my other video, but let me just leave you with this. Hitting 10 headshots, not even consecutively, just slowly builds up something called Time Chasm. When that activates, it's like this arc buddy and free radar. It'll deal 31 damage bursts alongside your shots, basically guaranteeing you the easiest 2 bursts in the game at 0.6 seconds TTK. You can swap during the stacks if you need to switch to your special, it doesn't go away. Once you have Time Chasm, it'll last for 10 seconds, which feels like a crazy long time. The zoom is lower, which allows for comfort in those close quarters, but the fact that Time Chasm has no drop off helps with that range immensely. It's just unreal. With the latest Desperado nerf, we felt like this thing really sits at number 1, and the only viable option for a backup per se to this ranking would actually be the Vigilance Wing. It's not quite as good in our opinion, but it is damn close. Like, give it a shot, it's amazing. Thank you, Hinra, for working on this with me. Folks, I've added his channel link on the screen and another 2 videos that covered some of the topics from today. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.